Hi everyone. We're just waiting for a few more seconds for people to join.
No one's ever running on time generally.
Me included.
Oh, including me.
Go. Okay, let's get started. So, hi everyone, my name's Peter Croft. I'm here with Jennifer Mann from the Energy Advisory Service, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on understanding your energy usage and managing energy costs in your home. I'm part of COTA SA, I'm a volunteer. COTA SA is the Council of Ageing SA. We're delighted to be facilitating this webinar with the assistance of the SA Government's Energy Advisory Service. COTA SA is an older people's movement, and it's the peak body representing the rights, the interests and the futures of older South Australians. Some of you might know us from our Strength for Life sessions, which operate all around South Australia, as well as our Rainbow Hub. To begin, we'd acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians of the land from which this webinar is being streamed. We also acknowledge the traditional custodians of all of the lands on which the listeners to this webinar are located. We honour Aboriginal people's continuing connection to country and recognise that their sovereignty was never ceded. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal people. The climate change group of COTA SA, of which I'm a part, has had considerable interest from people who say, we want to reduce our energy consumption and costs. The problem is it's really hard to get a handle on what's involved in understanding what your energy usage is, the types of appliances which might be more efficient, converting from one fuel source to another, and the use of technology such as solar panels and batteries. So to commence the process, we're delighted to have the expertise of Jennifer Mann from the Energy Advisory Service. This service is an independent and free source of advice of the SA Government. So Jennifer is going to present and then lead a discussion based on the types of practical questions that are received at the centre. The webinar will go up to an hour, might be less, might be slightly more. There'll be plenty of time for questions, and we suggest you use the Q&A functions to lodge any questions you may have. And by the way, thanks for all the questions which have already been lodged. And based on the questions, we're planning for some subsequent webinars to go into some of the topics that interest you in more detail. Just to let you know, this webinar is being recorded and can be accessed via the COTA SA website after this webinar is concluded. So now I'll hand over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter. Now I am driving here on the webinar, so if you give me one moment, I will get this started. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much again for having me here today. Energy can be a very complicated topic, and we want to try and help by giving some practical measures that you can take to use in your own home. So at the Energy Advisory Service, we receive a lot of calls regarding concerns about high bills, general cost of living. So I'll run you through some of the information that you might find useful. Also our contact details if you do want to reach out to the advisory service by phone call or email as well. So as you can see here, we, and Peter touched on it briefly before, we are an independent and free service. It is important to note that we're not here to provide comment on policy, either federally or really state. We can give factual, up-to-date energy advice. Our general inquiries cover things like energy efficiency, appliances, solar, batteries, energy bills and retailers. Also a good key point here as well, if you do have concerns with an energy retailer or about an energy bill, something's gone wrong, We can help you with some general information at the advisory service, but it's best to raise those disputes directly with your energy retailer or with the Ombudsman service if you do have concerns. So that they're the best place for an actual dispute. You can give us a call on 1-800 number that you can see on the screen. We also have our email, and there's a wealth of resources available at that sa.gov.au/energy. So to start with, let's chat about our homes. Small changes can make a big difference in the energy usage in your home. So I'm going to start with a little quiz here. You can see the pie chart. Obviously, this is a general, bit of a general information. Your usage in your own home may differ slightly, but it's a good little test to show where we actually use our energy. So I'll give you a minute to have a look. I've purposely left everything blank. So you can see around 40% of our energy usage, which is a very large chunk, goes to one area in our home. I'll give you a second to have a think about what you think that will be. Do you have a...
Heating and cooling.
You are correct. It is heating and cooling. So approximately 40% of our energy usage is to heating and cooling in our home. So small differences that we do there can make a big impact on our consumption and then our energy bill at the end of the day. Another quick one in relation to heating and cooling. So what do you think you should set your thermostat at during winter? Do you think you should 18 to 21 degrees, 23 to 26, or 26 to 29 degrees?
It depends on the size of the room.
Well, that can impact it, but if we're setting our thermostat, there is a good temperature that we should set our one at to make it most efficient anyway.
I'm going to guess the middle one.
Oh, wow. Unfortunately, it's actually number one. It's 18 to 21 degrees. Now, a lot of people think, oh, that's quite low. It's quite cold. But we're looking at what the temperature is outside versus the temperature inside. So if it's 5 degrees outside and you're setting a temperature to 26 degrees, your appliance that you're trying to get to heat the room will probably never get there. And if it does, to maintain that temperature, it's going to be constantly running, which means it's going to be an inefficient appliance. Every degree can cause up to around 10% extra on your consumption. So for every degree above. So again, these are general figures, but it's good to note that, you know, those little tweaks that you could make in your home now that you didn't even realize were somewhere where to save money and to save energy, that's a good place to start as a really basic one. It's also really important to note, though, if you do have a medical condition or there's some reason that you need to set your temperature higher, that you follow any doctor's instructions. This is just for an energy efficiency perspective.
And it was cool this morning.
It was cool, 5 degrees this morning. Now, as we were talking about, heating and cooling is one of the biggest impacts on our bills and of our consumption. So one of the main phone calls that we get or emails that we get at the advisory service relates to overuse of their appliances, possibly using them overnight, setting the thermostat too high or too low, like we were just talking about, using in a large open home, so not zoning, trying to heat the whole home rather than just that area where you're sitting. Could be an older model as well, just a less energy efficient model, or you could possibly have a poorly insulated home. So one of the key things about insulation is that can be up to 60% of heat loss through your walls, and your ceiling can be lost. So older homes as well weren't required to have insulation put in the ceiling. Obviously, you need to be careful about installing insulation, all of those types of things. There are accredited installers that you should be checking as well. But keep in mind that it also deteriorates over time. So it may be worth topping up or replacing, and it can make a big difference to your heat loss in your home. Some other tips as well is to turn off lights and appliances when you're not using them. Use energy efficient bulbs, wash clothes with a full load, and seal any of those gaps around the doors and the windows. Make sure the envelope of your home is sealed up as tight as it can, so that way you can keep that heat inside. Now, one of the other good resources that my team puts together every 6 months are the winter and summer guides. The Energy Advisory Service, we are in a very small team, unfortunately. I wish there was more of us to do more work, but there is just the 4 of us here in South Australia. So what we try and do is things like today's webinar and also guides that we can disseminate and help people individually in their homes. So these guides provide simple steps to keep you warm and cool, helps you choose appliances as well, different types of energy plans, how to get the best energy deal, information about the Home Energy Toolkit. I'll talk a little bit more about that as well a bit later. And also keeping safe in both the heat and keeping safe with heating appliances such as carbon monoxide, things like that. Those are important things as we move into that colder months. If you are using gas at home, make sure you've got all of that maintenance and everything up to date. We want to keep everyone safe.
And you've got on that list types of energy plans and getting the best energy deal. That's one of the topics which has been raised with us.
It is a question of concern from some people. We get the questions about how does that work? What does that mean? And it can mean different things for different people. So the new rules that came in from around 2016, I think it was, meant that all new and replacement energy meters have to be a smart meter. If you are on a smart meter, likely you're going to be put on a time of use plan. That means you're getting charged for different times at different periods of the day. So that means you have peak, off-peak and shoulder, different to the old controlled load and flat rate. But it is important to understand how to best optimize your energy usage at home if you do have one of those time of use plans as well. We can go into that. Maybe that could be something that we discuss in one of those other future webinars, because they can be a little bit, we can talk about that for until the cows come home actually, but as well with these resourcing, it discusses, hold on, some of the low cost alternatives to consider in your home. So I've taken a little screen grab. Hopefully it's clear enough for everyone. Also, the winter heating guide is at the printers. We are hoping that it is delivered to the Energy Advisory Service tomorrow, and we're organising about 10,000 copies that will be sent out across the state. If you would like one, you can generally go to your local member's office. They should be on our mailing list to receive, a large stack of them. Some of them get hundreds, but this is a little screen grab from inside the brand new one that's just been printed now. So as you can see, over here on the left is the appliance. Then over here is what it will cost if you're on a flat rate. We were talking about those different types of plans. So you can see there here is a flat rate plan or a time of use. It's approximately what it will cost per hour. And then over here, it's how many people are we trying to heat? The full page of this breaks it down to larger space rooms as well and different appliances, but I've just grabbed a little bit of it so we can show a bit of an example today. If you have a look, using an electric heated rug, so we're still just looking for 2 people, an electric heated rug costs around 4 to 6 cents per hour. If you were using a an electric radiant heater, it could cost around 40 to 54 cents an hour. So that's a very large difference to run and heat 2 people sitting in a small space. For example, let's say you're watching TV for 2 hours each weeknight. If you were trying to keep yourself warm using one of the electric throw rugs, it would cost around $8 a quarter. If you were using ducted gas heating, you could be looking at around $219 a quarter, which over time, if we continue to make those choices, those will really add up at the end of the day, 1 for our consumption and 2 for our bills. So it's important, little things like that are things that we can change easily at home and operate the way that we use our energy. Now, bear with me at this point. We will be trying to flick between a couple of screens. I'm going to see how we go with doing this in a live situation. If after you've thought about your usage and a couple of those things about using maybe a heated throw rug, you're still a bit confused about how much energy you're using or what appliances use in your home, there's extra steps that are published on the sa.gov website. Which I've got here, some live links. So we'll see if I can pop across to them. Let's see how I go. Now, I will Share screen here. And excellent. I think I've got it working. So if you're still wanting to take those extra steps, maybe doing a bit of an audit in your own home, this is a great resource here. Doesn't cost you anything, free just from the website here. We'll just go through one, heating and cooling. That's what we've been talking a little bit about today. So I'll just show this as an example. If you open it up, if you answer yes to these questions on the left, you're doing the right thing. If you answer no to the question, it gives you a bit of a tip over here about other ways that you could be using your energy. For example, do you only heat and cool rooms that are being used? If the answer is yes, doing a great job. If the answer is no, it gives you here about how to zone off your house, if you can, obviously. Different types of appliances in homes might not have that functionality, but everyone should be able to close a door, at least try to not let that heat or that cool flow down into the other areas of the house. So this goes on, lots of questions here that you can go through when you've got the time. Also, obviously there's more about fridges, freezers, cooking appliances as well. This is what I mentioned earlier though, a home energy toolkit. If you've done this online audit and you're still like, I'm still not sure, there's this high energy bill, I can't work out what appliance is going wrong, where this problem is occurring, but maybe I still don't want to get an electrician to come to my house. You might want to borrow a home energy toolkit. These can be borrowed from the library for free. So most libraries have at least one, some have two. Obviously, check with your local library. We don't have a list on our website. It is up to the library to keep that information up to date. But it has some tools that you can use, such as appliance meters, thermometers, compasses, stopwatches, and a very descriptive guide, which will help you, use each of those tools to measure the usage of the equipment in your home and the appliances in your home.
It's straightforward to use?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it does take some time. There is a very big document to fill out, the usage of each of those appliances. So I would definitely not expect to get it done in 10 minutes. But to start with, I would recommend that first audit that I've just showed you, the yes, the no questions. They're nice and easy. But if you want a more in-depth tool to use, then we would move on to that home energy toolkit, which has got actual measurement devices and ways to check that. Okay. So that would be where I'd go to next.
Right, so local libraries.
Local libraries for free, that's right. And then obviously if you're still having problems, you might need to consider, contacting an electrician or a gas fitter or something like that if you think there's a leak. Obviously, if you're concerned with any leaks or actual safety, follow all of those safety precautions as well. These are just some extra tools that you can use at your disposal. Now let's see if I can go back. Right. Again, bear with me. Thank you for your patience. Let's see. That's that one. Yes, excellent. Now, there was another one I was going to show you, but because I'm a little bit inept with the operating of this device today, I might only just show one more of the links, if that's okay. So there's also a calculate an appliance running costs. Let me just get that page open as well. Make sure that's loaded. There we go. So this is a calculator that helps you work out how much it's costing to run different appliances. So if we scroll down here, one of the first important steps, it auto-populates with the cost of 42 cents per kilowatt. Now, you're going to need to look at your own bill to see what you're actually being charged per kilowatt hour, and you can change that figure there. So this is just what it pre-populates with at 42 cents. Have a look at your own bill. Generally, second page, it will have the actual cost per unit. So the cost per kilowatt will be listed there, and you can update it here if you'd like. And in here, you can actually add in all of your different appliances using their power, how much you run them per day, and it will tally up over in these sides how much your total daily running costs and then your quarterly running costs. You can add multiple appliances, and then it will add up and give you a tally down the bottom of your total costs as well. So it's just another little tool that you can use, another weapon in your arsenal to bring down those energy bills and your energy consumption at home. Just gives you some more awareness, I think, especially with the cost these days. It's really important to be aware of what's happening and where you can actually save some energy and money. Let me flip back again.
And the middle one, the household appliances, what's
that? Is just a launch page. So it goes through different appliances for your kitchen, your bathroom, your bedroom, living area. So it's a bit of a launch pad.
okay?
So that's a really good one if you want to find out different appliances for different rooms.
Okay.
Now, the next thing that I wanted to kind of run and talk about is making sure that we're getting every concession and access to any of the schemes that we might need here in South Australia. So if you have a concession card, obviously this is a requirement, you may be entitled to get an energy concession. That should be happening automatically, but there is a specific concession team that works for the state government. So if you move home, sometimes if you move retailer as well, you can lose your concession, can drop off. So it's really important that if you do move or change retailers, that you contact the concessions team for them to update your details, so you can make sure you still get up to $263.15 a year. That's also indexed at the end of the financial year. So there will be some new figures coming out any day now. It's almost the end of the financial year. I can't believe it. But so make sure you're keeping up to date with them. There's also the energy bill relief. Now, with the state of the world in the last couple of years, there was an extra payment that was launched by the state government, which was a total of $500 for households. They extended the eligibility, so you didn't necessarily have to be on a concession. There were some other variables as well. Again, I don't work for concessions, so it's best that if you do have questions about any of these things, to speak to concessions directly.
And do you understand how the federal government's $300 works?
No, I don't. I'm not across the federal government one, sorry.
So that just comes out automatically, it sounds.
So there's no federal government concession.
I'm just thinking of the $300 which was announced in the federal budget.
Oh, I don't have, if that's just been announced, I haven't got any idea how that will actually land into policy at this point. They probably haven't discussed that at this point, how it will be delivered. So I haven't heard anything, nothing in the grapevine as yet.
Okay.
There's also a medical heating and cooling concession. So as I was mentioning earlier, it's really important that you use the heating or the cooling that you need for your personal circumstances. If you do have a medical condition, you may be entitled to another $263.15. There is a special team within the concessions that actually manages all of that. Again, if you think that you might be eligible, make sure that you reach out and get that as well. Now, one of the other schemes in South Australia specifically is called the Retailer Energy Productivity Scheme. We love a long name, and we also love our acronyms. So REPS, as it is also called. Now, there are, again, eligibility criteria, different ways of going about getting them. However, if you are considering updating or getting a new appliance in your home, such as lighting, shower heads, hot water system upgrades, air conditioner upgrades, or newer, more energy efficient appliances, you may be eligible for rebates. The way that it works is energy retailers, it doesn't have to be your retailer either. It can be any energy retailer that operates here in South Australia. They offer funding for different types of activities for different appliances. So you can speak to the retailers or one of their approved installers, which is available on the Essential Services Commission website. So you can find them. One of them is called Mac Trade Services. I'm not recommending them as a specific. Obviously, we don't recommend any private businesses, but they are one of the largest operators in that area. But there is a full list of all of the third-party installers that are approved on the Essential Services Commission of South Australia website. So you can call them directly if you are thinking about getting an upgrade, and they'll let you know what services they provide, what type of efficiencies that they have as well. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're going to be getting something new in your home. See if you're eligible. One other thing, actually, I think I'll touch on very quickly, something that isn't available. A lot of people seem to think that there is extra government funding for solar or batteries. Sometimes there are some sales teams that may say, oh, there's a special government grant or a special something that you might be eligible for. Just buyer beware, there is no extra funding than what every single person is eligible for. So there's something called an STC, Small Scale Technology Certificate, is again another long word, but everyone is entitled to that. There is nothing based on your income or postcode. I see a lot of those types of things. Everyone is entitled to the same amount. I do know that a couple of councils have done some special things, but that would be your local council that's doing and engaging. They will send you direct notification, but there isn't anything else other than what every person is entitled to. Right. So I just like to make that clear because that is a common question that we get as well.
Right, because I think Mitcham and I think now Unley are certainly trying to help people get into solar.
Yeah, so there is some, like I said, there are some council areas that are doing some battery schemes, some things like that, but that is directly from your council. They should be referencing the council if that is eligible in your area. So just always buyer beware of any of those types of claims. I like to make that point. Now we're just going to finish on how to check your energy plans. And I want to ask a couple of questions to you, so have a think about this. When was the last time you actually looked closely at your energy bill? I know we all look at the amount we have to pay. That's the important part. But when was the last time you actually looked at your individual unit charges? Because a lot of the time, loyalty isn't what it used to be. Sometimes there is a thought that is going to be, oh, if I stay with the retailer, I've been with them for 15 years, I'm getting the best deal. That is definitely not the case. So I always recommend have a look, shop around, see what other things are available. The Energy Made Easy website, this is a federal government website. So the legislation that sits behind all of the energy retailers, it means they have to publish all of their readily available offers on that website. Some of the other comparison sites are fine. I'm not going to mention any of them here today, but they are not required to host all retailers and they're not required to show all plans. So just keep that in mind. If you are going to be using another comparison site, there may be something else out there. Some of the smaller retailers might not be showing up on there. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It's also important to consider, like I was talking about earlier, if you have a pension card, there can be some other deals out there. So the state government has got a deal with Origin Energy. So that is called, again, another long name for everyone out there, the South Australian Concessions Energy Discount Offer. So it's a very long name. I do apologise. I did not make these names. But that is with Origin Energy. So if you do have a pension card and you are considering, oh, maybe there is a special rate that I can get, you'd have to ring Origin to have a discussion with that. But that is something that has been negotiated with Origin by the state government. Also, if you are in public housing through the state government housing, there is also the Tesla SAVPP, which stands for Virtual Power Plant. So if you are in any government housing, you might like to contact Housing Authority to see if you'd be eligible for that. You don't actually get the benefit directly of the solar. They install solar or battery, or sometimes just battery. You don't necessarily get the money from the solar that's collected, but the role that they have organised is that you will get the lowest available rate in the market. So that there's a guarantee for that if you are in housing, but you do have to be a public housing living in public housing.
What about rental? A number of the people who we come in contact with live in rented accommodation. Are there any special other arrangements, or is it really the list that you've just gone through?
Really the list of what I've gone through at this point in time. There is possible funding coming in the future for different ways of making sure that we get energy efficient homes. Can you hear me? Yes, that's back. All good, excellent. Yeah, I wouldn't want to say anything that's incorrect, but I know that they're looking at the possibility of making sure that the building envelope, so our homes, are energy efficient. What is that going to mean in the future? Possibly at the point of sale, people will have to notify what the energy rating is of their home, so that we know that we've got more energy efficient stock in the market, but there isn't anything at this point in time for rental specific supports, unfortunately. But if one of the things I was talking about earlier with the insulation, you know, it may be worthwhile reaching out to your landlord if you are a renter to see if that insulation can get upgraded or installed. That might be something, especially coming up to the end of the financial year, they might be trying to save some money in their own tax returns. But, you know, insulation can be a really big saviour for your home. But that's all of the things that I had prepared for today. So I hope that's covered a lot. But we've got a couple of questions that have come through early. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Excellent. So now it's just us here on the screen. So we had a couple of questions that did come through. If you do have any questions, feel free to use again. There's an FAQ function, did you say, Peter?
Yeah, question and answer.
Question and answer section. So please feel free to pop a question in there if you have any. We did have a couple of questions come through, one about hot water services, and as well a couple of things about. So one of the questions about hot water service was about how to, what temperature can hot water service be set? Now, I am not technical, so I did do a quick lookup of these details before I came through, but it does depend on the type of hot water service that you have in your home. So anything that has a sanitary fixing, so something that may be in the bathroom, there is temperature controls required. So it can be anywhere between, I think, 45 and 60 degrees can be a requirement that is set at the actual, there's a setting that, you know, needs to be done on the actual hot water service itself. There is also between 49 and 60 degrees for an efficiency, but there's so many different types of heating devices that we also need to consider health, Legionella disease as well. You know, where can that sit in a large hot water tank? We don't want any bacteria being bred. So again, I would recommend that you speak to a licensed plumber or a specialist in that area for hot water heating directly. That's just a little bit of information that I've managed to grab before we came on today. There was also some questions relating to, are solar panels still a good investment to help reduce energy bills? That is a complicated question, and it really does depend on what you're going to be doing in your home. Are you going to be staying in your home for a long time? Is this going to be a, you know, for the next 10 plus years? Because we need to look at the cost benefit. It can cost $10,000, $15,000+ to install a solar. It can, but you can obviously, if you install a battery at the end of the day, that can help you save a lot of money from buying from the grid at night. At the moment, you're looking at the peak time, gosh, paying 50 cents a kilowatt from the grid ish. There's variances here. Again, I'm just generalizing. Look at your own bills and have a look. But at night, if you have solar, you're still buying energy from the grid. So if you have battery installed, you can charge that during the day, and then you can use your own energy that you've stored at night. So it can still be a very good investment, but it does depend on what you're doing. So I always like to look at your own circumstances. What are you going to be doing at the end of the day? And, are you going to be in that for a long period of time? Are you also looking to get a cost benefit, or are you looking for an energy efficiency? How are you wanting to add value to your home? Those are the questions that you do kind of have to ask yourself before we go through and we make those big investments in our property.
Just picking up on that, a number of people we've been talking to have said, look, I know I want to make these transitions, but I just don't understand all the cost parameters. How much does it cost to install? Do I have to upgrade my switchboard?
Mm-hmm.
All of those sort of things. So if there's interest, what we'd like to do is to run a future webinar which drills down into some particular examples. Now, we do have a question from Mike on, are there advisors available who will come to my house, review it and my bills, and advise me on the best strategies? Where would you go?
Not for free. There is no free services available. We did used to, like I advised earlier, unfortunately, we are a very small team these days. And so managing our call centre, email, developing our resources, coming and doing webinars, that's really where our resource ends specifically. But you can give us a call, Mike, if you want, on the phone number that we have. We can kind of go through some more detailed for you. Again, it's not going to be an in-home assessment. You can pay for them though.
So there are advisors.
There are definitely advisors out there that can come to your home, but again, there may be a cost involved. So and I wouldn't want to recommend a specific person to come and do an energy audit at your home. But you can do some Googling. I mean, I would also check for their reviews, any licensing if they're saying that they're an electrician. Always check on the Consumer and Business Services website, I'm pretty sure. You have to have your builder's license number, making sure that they're operating, anyone that's doing any work on your home, just ask some further questions to see what qualifications they have. Before you take their advice or pay anyone extra money to do that.
So I guess it comes back to your original point that you need to understand your energy users first.
Yes.
So there's no point paying somebody a lot of money if you haven't already done the audit.
Yeah, and done some of those simple steps yourself. You may find after doing the audit that you've worked out a lot of information yourself and you didn't need someone to come in, or you might end up with more questions and you go, okay, now I really want to get someone in to help me understand this a little bit better. Okay. We've got another question here about the hot water calculator disappeared from the website. Look, it was taken down. I was actually involved in that conversation, not directly, but I was off to the side. It was no longer, the data that was sitting in the background of that calculator was no longer a trusted source. So we didn't want to have anything on the website that wasn't going to really give information that was correct. So it is unfortunate. We were trying to work out getting a new one developed, but it did at this time appear to be a little bit cost prohibitive for that to be developed. But it's not to say that it won't ever come back. It was honestly a question that's only come up in the last 3 to 6 months. So that is still something that we have considered, and I'll take that feedback today that has been a question that was raised during the webinar. So thank you for that.
Okay, I'm just checking if there are further questions. While we're waiting, I'll just say that if there is interest in the topic of moving, say, from gas to electricity as a household, or drilling more deeply into what one of these installations, gas or solar, etc., might involve, certainly let us know. and we'll look at running a webinar. There might be a case study approach. Just because I think each circumstance is completely different. I think that's what we've that's what we've realised as we've gone through it.
Look, and those are the conversations that we've had earlier as well. Today wanted to be about practical steps that you can take in your own home, things that you can look at to try and save yourself energy and money. And if you do have any further questions, we can look at doing, I can see another one's just popped through. If you do have any other specific questions, it might, we could look at doing another episode or another webinar specifically on that topic. Now, we've just had another question pop through.
So this is from Beth. She says, I understand energy efficient air conditioning uses heat pump technology, but this can be very drying as it takes water vapour out of the air and not the best role for people with dry skin. Are there any other energy efficient options for heating?
Again, it depends on the type of size of the room that you're trying to heat. What do you have connected at the moment? Do you have solar? Are you running it during the day? Another tip, if you do have solar at your home, Beth, I'm not sure. If you do have a newer system, which is a modern air conditioning system, they can still be quite efficient. And if we set it at the thermostat, like we were talking earlier, make sure we're setting it at a decent temperature for the effect that we're trying to get. You can heat or cool your home during those free periods of the day when your solar system's running. Get your temperature up or down to where you want it throughout the day so your system's not working as hard. Sometimes that can be a good way to operate. But some of the newer systems can be quite energy efficient. It just depends on how big your room is. And again, the winter heating guide that is, again, it's being printed as I speak. You might find that really helpful, Beth. It's got that full page list, which is going to show the size of the room, the type of heater, and how much it can cost to actually run per hour. So that might be handy for you to have a look at.
So I think part of Beth's question was about the drying effect on skin.
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer that question specifically, but to talk about an efficiency of an appliance, you might like to have a look. I know I wasn't talking about heat pumps. I was just talking about a reverse cycle air conditioner.
Yeah, so the energy. So certainly the drying effect is something I've noticed in my own life. Yeah. I think we're probably reaching the end, unless there are an additional question. We've got an interloper.
Yeah.
Here I am, just interrupting people.
Here we go. This is John.
Yeah, how are we all? Yeah, so you can see my beaming countenance or whatever, what passes for it. On this drying out bit, all air conditioners have a thing called sensible heat and latent heat capacities. The latent heat capacity is the bit which removes moisture from the air. The sensible heat is the one that changes the temperature. But in reverse cycle mode, you don't have that same drying effect because that means it's just providing heating, it's not providing dehumidification. So it's a completely different effect, and you don't get the same drying effect in winter when you're using it for heating purposes as you do in summer when you're using it for cooling. So I'll stop interrupting now and leave these good people to it.
Thank you.
Okay.
A lot more expertise than I have on those specifics. So thank you, John.
Okay, well, I think we've reached the end of our time. First of all, I'd like to thank Jennifer for coming along and for the Energy Advisory Service. And just as a reminder, 11 Weymouth Street, and there are email addresses, there are phone numbers.
We're operating from 9 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. Monday to Friday.
Excellent. Thanks, people, for your questions. That's been very helpful. And we will think about future webinars. So we are expecting that there will be a number of topics which people want to pursue. And I think it's particularly the case studies, which is of interest. if you would like to get in touch with COTA on any climate issues, you can contact the Climate Change Group. You've met me, you've met John, John the Interloper, via the COTA SA office number 8232 0422, and COTA has an email. And the other thing you can do is to join COTA, free membership, and it's you're connected into a wider world of everything from Strength for Life through to Rainbow Hub to climate change and many other topics. And one of the aspects that COTA is very good at is putting forward submissions on to the state government in its budget process to help older people. So I recommend joining. So thanks everyone. Very nice to be a part of this, and hopefully you'll join us again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to our technical team.
Yeah.